We're Max and Justin,
Max is a therapist,
and Justin has opinions.
and together we unpack relationships, trauma, family.
And everything people think they understand but usually don't.
Welcome to the conversation you didn't know you needed.
All right. Round two.
Round two.
Here we
I'm
go.
ready.
Call your therapist, the podcast. What do we want to talk about today?
I think a big part of what we should talk about today is what people mean by the idea of not settling. That's something that I think would be really helpful to talk about because it came up in our conversation the other day.
Like we're shopping and we shouldn't settle on the green versus blue.
Like not settling in relationship.
Not settling in relationship. Got it.
Yeah,
I'm
because
pretending like I don't know what we're talking about and I'm making a joke. But
Nailed
yes,
it.
settling in your relationship. When settling is a good thing versus when it's bad, or what does settling even mean?
That's what we should talk about.
What's the therapeutic take?
It depends on what we're talking about. But if I were to like split it into the categories that you were just saying, I would start with like the idea of what people mean when they are saying that you shouldn't settle or I'm not going to settle, because there's a part of it that I think it feels very like strong and empowering and self-assured. But a lot of the time, if we're really looking at what it means to be in a relationship, then we have to take into account the idea that you're going to have to accept and interact with things that are less than ideal at some point. Fair?
Fair.
So if you're going to have to do that either way, what I'm at least seeing from a practice perspective, like when I'm actually talking to people on a professional level, is that people use that phrase when they have found something about another person that is less than ideal. So basically saying like, I'm not going to settle. You know, this person isn't, as silly as these examples might be, they're not the height that I thought they should be, or they don't look the way that I really wanted them to, or they don't know how to cook, or they don't know how to pick up after themselves in the way that I would expect a partner to be able to do the second I'm in a relationship with them right now. Versus looking at relationship as something that builds over time and you learn each other and you settle into something, which I would say is the positive reframe of settling. But to start with that, I mean, you have to have seen with people in your life over the years, like them using that terminology in a way where it does feel like it's kind of a cop-out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is called the ick.
Say more.
It's also like deciding whether or not, like, did you get the ick? Is this one thing a deal breaker that you found within this person? And are you just not happy with who you've chosen? Because once you find that one thing that makes you question, did I pick the right person? Then you're just like, oh no, I also really don't like that thing that they do when we're in the car. I really don't know if I love their laugh, or their smell isn't exactly something that I'm drawn to, or whatever it might be. I think that people just, you already know. When it starts happening and it becomes like a disease and there's no cure to those symptoms, you're like already done with that person.
Yeah.
I think. So I also love what you said when you said settling in versus settling down or settling for something. I think whenever you use the language settling in, it's a little bit more meaningful because it's something that you're wanting to happen. Everything is sort of calming down. You feel safe with that person. You feel the love that they're giving. The energy and efforts feel very two-sided rather than one-sided. Because once you do start going down that, like, am I settling in a bad way? You're losing that connection, essentially, I think.
I agree. If you are actually like settling for something, even non-relational, like what does that idea even mean?
I think it's just, simply put, decisive. You've decided. Because it is a choice. First, there's attraction, and then there's the time that you spend with somebody, and then there's just, like, you lock in. You're like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm choosing this person, and I want to stay right where I am. There's always more out there. There's more people, there's more experiences, there's more things out there that you can just pursue. But once you find somebody that does, I don't love this phrase, but checks all of your boxes. The boxes are important. They are just like what you want out of a relationship and what you're looking for in the qualities of another person. If they fit those boxes, they check those off, then keep doing that.
Yeah. So here's what I see. So when people are looking for that and they're trying to find somebody that they can choose, right? And they're in a relationship and it's, I don't know, let's say give or take 3 months into dating. And they're starting to think through the idea that, maybe there's someone better. Because when we're talking about settling, when people are actually using that phrase, what they almost always mean is that they feel like they're choosing a lesser option in comparison to something better out there. Like there's another option that they're going to miss out on if they settle for this one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the question becomes, right? Like there are so many times, there's so many examples that we could go through where I could point out that the person who has that opinion, who thinks they're settling for something, has actually found something really excellent. But for some reason, they perceive it as not as good as what they could have. Do you have any idea of why that is? Because I get really confused by it, honestly.
Well, I think even before this person decided to choose something or choose what they're choosing currently, if they're still always feeling like there's more out there, then I think they've always felt like that in their life. They've been going through that for years, not like way before they've decided to choose this person. I think they've always in their mind felt like there's more out there. They've been conditioned to believe that once you achieve this one thing, there's going to be another step after that. There's going to be more after this. And so it's kind of like in our careers, we get the first job, which isn't so great, and we sometimes hate it. And then we come home and we're not happy because we know that like this isn't forever. And then you finally get that next job, which is just the next milestone for the one that you really want later. So you're never really sitting still.
Yeah.
I do love how like we can really switch careers so easily these days. But at the same time, there's something a little bit harmful in the way that it removes a lot of virtue in the hard work and hustle and commitment that it takes to find longevity in just one thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things in life that we're going to have to do that we don't want to do. And with dating and relationships, it's all want. It starts with want. And like if you don't have to stay, you don't have to stay.
But that is, if we're being just thoughtful about history, that's new, right? So like we do live in a time where we have more choice than any other generation in human history by a long shot. We can choose where we live and what we do and how we dress and how we interact and how we identify and who we talk to and who we're in relationship with. And I could make a list 9 yards long because we do have choices, which is actually in a lot of ways that has given us so many different improvements. But in relationship, there's now this gap between what does it look like to be committed to something and to settle into it, and what does it look like to still choose what you really want. And I do feel like so many people are struggling to really find themselves in an enjoyable relationship where they're like, damn, this is awesome. Like, I love that I found this, because it's so much easier to look at the things that aren't there in comparison to what could be than it is to enjoy what actually is there and settle in and commit. I honestly think people are terrified to commit to things.
Totally.
Because
it's all fear-based.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think. It's just, that's where all of those thoughts come from of like, this could be wrong for me. This could be this. It's that like revolving door of what ifs.
Yeah.
That come from fear, and people are just afraid because they don't spend enough time actually committing.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because now that we're having this conversation, I am realizing that professionally, I did one version of it, and relationally, I've often been different. So professionally, I bounced around like all over the place.
Well, that's just business. At the same time, when you're self-aware, you know where you can actually pick and choose those things, where you have like learned your lessons in one spot. You've almost like, and you've like felt complete in that first position. Like with work, there are a lot of people that prematurely just want to get ahead, and then they don't actually stop and nurture that first position that they're in. And sometimes in doing that, you skip the basics in whatever field you're in. So career-wise, I think that's great. At the same time, you're talking about something that you're still nurturing from the beginning.
Sort of, except I technically worked in like I mean, my first job out of college was starting at Starbucks.
Oh, well,
and then I
your
worked in
work- we're
elementary
talking
school.
way
And then I
back.
worked in hospitality. And then I worked in another hotel. And then I got promoted at that hotel. And then I went into financial services. And then I did high-tech cloud computing infrastructure software. Like I worked in 6 different industries before I became a therapist.
Yeah.
And I kept switching. And even though I'd get a lot of negative feedback, like even at one point, my dad was so loving about it, but he did point out, I think it was on like my 3rd career trajectory shift when I was restarting into hospitality. He was pointing out like, hey, just so you know, like it doesn't look great to keep starting over. It doesn't look great to not commit. And he literally used that phrase at the time. Like it's not the best thing in the world, but I would look at it and I would say, everything that I've learned that's made me really successful in business, in therapy, and in the world of mental health actually came from basically acquiring a pseudo business degree from all these other industries.
But you're committing to yourself in all of those decisions. You're still
I do agree with
committing
that.
to your career.
Yes.
Because at some point we do realize through our 20s and our youthful time in figuring out what we want to do for the rest of our lives, which that's also kind of like a dying phrase because is anybody really doing something right now that they're going to do for the rest of their lives? Do we know that for sure? I don't know.
It's at least a lot less common.
Less common.
Yeah.
Yes. But I mean,
But isn't that also less common in relationship? Like that culturally has changed.
yes, that's where I was about to go.
I know. And
Because
you're spot on.
it's like we spend how much time in our jobs every day?
A lot.
And if we're constantly realizing there's more out there, then what do we bring to the dating life? What do we bring to our relationships as well?
Yeah. You just made me figure out something that I was saying earlier. So part of the difference in like the career and the relationship distinction that I feel like there is for me in commitment, you're not wrong. Like I did commit to myself throughout the whole process, but one of the ways that I don't think you can actually assess whether or not you're settling for something unless you committed to it in the first place.
Ooh, that's good.
I really don't, because if I hadn't like gone into those jobs and done them like gung ho, I was like I am a front desk agent. I'm doing this like, and I'm going to be the best and I'm going to love it. And I eventually figured out like, this is a lot of work to be in hospitality. I don't think I'm going to be able to be married to like a hotel and another human.
Well, you're also, again, very self-aware. I'm very
Thank
self-aware. We get to a point where we've done so much committing to our bosses, to our coworkers, to the point where we actually stop one day and question, am I getting back what I'm putting in?
Yeah,
And it doesn't mean that you're selfish all the time. Some people are.
sure. Yeah.
And they're like, everything that they do in life, they're just expecting something in return. And that's not what I mean by that. It's just when you get preached out by employers and people who host team meetings and they say, we're working as a team, we value our team, we're working together. Is it really cultivating like a true togetherness when at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I've done everything at this job that I can. I feel like I'm not making ends meet in the rest of my life because I have this job.
Right.
I think when you're self-aware enough, you know when to walk away from things.
I agree.
And so it's that walking away can come from an appreciation for how much you did commit to something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are people who also have great, loving, and wonderful relationships to look back on, and then they end up still having to walk away from something that was very hard to walk away from. They still have it in them to commit. There are people that we started this conversation out talking about who don't even have the ability to be aware enough to go like, am I doing enough on these dates, in these connections, in the dialogue I'm having with people intimately? Am I doing enough that shows that I'm willing to commit if I do find that person?
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't. They're just still like, well, this person's not hot enough. They don't make enough at their job. They aren't checking this box or that box. So I want more.
Yeah.
And it's just like
But that's the phrase, right? Like, I think part of the reason why I personally feel so bothered when people say I'm not going to settle for this is that language is so deserving based. Like it's akin to saying like, I deserve something better. versus like, be honest. And like, can we just say like, I don't want this. I am not willing to commit to this. Like I would respect that language. Even if I disagree with the person saying it, that I could get behind and understand and say like, thank you. You're right. You obviously didn't want that. You want something more, better, hotter, stronger, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that would be more honest, I think. I don't think it applies all the time because sometimes there's probably positions where, I don't know, I've been in a relationship where I have settled into something that was really not healthy or not helpful.
Well, I think it's okay to say at some point when you've taken too much, it's okay to say the things that you don't feel like you deserve.
Yeah.
When things feel wrong towards you, it's okay to say, I don't think I deserve this.
Absolutely.
But my mom actually told me when I was young, and I'll never forget it. At first, being young, I was like, what is she talking about? And I'm like, of course I deserve good things. But she said, actually, just remove from your vocabulary the phrase, I deserve ... Never start anything out with, I deserve this or that or this or that. A lot of people aren't going to like this on social media.
That's okay. I really love that.
There are so many people that post and put captions on socials that are like, I deserve this, I deserve that, I deserve to be treated like this, I deserve more than what I'm getting. You can't show up on first dates and be like, all right, so give me this, give me that.
Yep.
I hope that down the line you're going to be able to provide this, this, and that because that's what I want. What about you? Like,
well, and it's sticky because there are things like removing the vocabulary of deserving doesn't technically remove the reality that we do deserve certain things and we shouldn't deserve, we don't deserve other things. Like we don't deserve to be abused, harmed, or mistreated. That is just true of humans. We're innately worthy of love and belonging. That said, the language is what gets complicated. Last episode, we were kind of talking about the pop psychology issue when like stuff just starts being talked about without being fully understood. And this is one of those areas where I do think like language matters, right? So my perspective on it would be very simple, but it's basically that language tends to, that doesn't mean it explicitly does, it just tends to remove personal responsibility. So in a dating relationship, if you're just looking for like if what you deserve is being met, then you're technically just looking for somebody to fit into the boxes Justin was talking about, but then just fit into them and take care of you. And I don't think that's fair. I think...
yeah, the boxes are just your foundation.
Exactly.
There's so much more that comes after choosing a human being to spend life with.
And technically speaking, like, you probably don't know the best version of the human being that would actually be loving, caring, respectful, kind, and oriented towards you in a way that might heal you in a lot of ways that you don't even understand yet. Like to say that you already know everything that the ideal person would be in relationship to you and that you're settling for something else is just, it just feels very arrogant.
You're making that person walk right into a trap.
Well, and how do you know? Like, I think the only way that you could know, like we were talking about earlier, is if when you're choosing people, like let's say you find them attractive and you really enjoy them, okay? Then commit to it for a period of time. Like actually be in a relationship. Don't just keep evaluating, do they check all the boxes? Don't just keep trying to figure out if someone checks all the boxes. At some point, this idea of being in a relationship has to come back a little bit more to knowing somebody and being known. You at some point do have to settle into the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like when I hear that language, a lot of the time, this idea of just being in relationship is being avoided. What I'm trying to say in a simpler way is when we're talking about not settling, more often than not, we're actually talking about what we're still trying to avoid. I'm not quite saying that the way that I want to in my head, but avoiding commitment is very different than not settling.
Well, not settling is avoiding something.
Yeah. We're backing out of the potential for this thing that we might have accidentally settled into. I guess the question on my mind is like, are people actually giving it the time and honesty it needs to figure out if something could work?
No.
Yeah, that's how it feels to me too.
Straight answer.
I don't think they are. And I can't say that about everyone. Obviously, we have to be very nuanced in how we speak.
Yeah. Well, on a personal note, I've found multiple times and moments that I spend with you where I'm realizing why people call their partner their best friend. I love that now. I didn't used to really like that when I'd see people post it on like their Facebook or Instagram and they'd be like, I'm just with my best friend. I think that it's really important that you do find somebody who does feel like your best friend. That kind of brings a big emotional element to it all. But people start off with these strict guidelines and boxes that people need to check when they're going on dates. They're almost too uptight and strict that they're afraid to get rid of those boxes. And it doesn't mean to lower your standards. It just means to stop being so nitpicky with people.
Well, maybe it could mean shifting the standards, right? Like, I do think that people are forgetting how much of a relationship is actually a friendship. Like,
Yes.
you spend a lot of time with this person you're hypothetically going to choose.
Yes.
And if you're going to choose them, maybe not just choosing on the basis of certain superficial aspects to who they are currently, and really considering, do you enjoy being with this other human being?
Who you go home with after 11 p.m. at night is not going to be who you
Yeah.
are going to continuously like coming home to. This is where we get into hookup culture and going straight into bed with somebody versus actually like getting to know someone.
Yeah.
Like it's just simply put, getting to know people. And a lot of people don't want to go and waste their time at a 2-hour dinner with someone they feel like couldn't meet their criteria.
Right.
But like you have to. Sorry. FaceTimes are great. You can still like spend time with somebody virtually, acting with them that way, but at the same time you still conversationally need to spend the time allowing yourself and your body and your mind to respond to somebody naturally in a conversation.
I think that if we're going to look at the idea of settling into something differently, then changing the criteria that we're evaluating off of probably would be really helpful. Because basically we were just talking about this idea of like, you are going to be spending a lot of time with the person that you choose. You're not just going to be evaluating how they look. You're not just going to be evaluating what they currently do.
The single people listening to this, I think the married people and the people in like good relationships that want to listen to us are going to be like, duh.
Well,
but
yeah.
the single people are going to be like, well, when you talk about spending long amounts of time with someone, like forever, that's what scares them the most.
I also would say that it's the married people that complain about it the most in my office.
Well, and that's something for another episode because
it is not the single people who are only complaining about it.
Who probably they had those boxes to check with somebody. They wanted that picture perfect wedding. They wanted that picture perfect person to hold hands with down whatever street of whatever looks like they're in a rom-com.
Instead of learning how to accept differences and enjoy one another and to like settle into something, a lot of people end up really frustrated by the things they're still evaluating.
Some people want people that make them look good in front of their friends. They want their parents to approve. They want everyone to just like look at them with this person that they've chosen and go, good job.
Yeah. They want a person to upgrade them.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yeah. So
so I know like a lot of this conversation is kind of focusing on like the negative of this idea of settling. But I also think like there is something so beautiful about finding somebody you really want to make it work with and get to know and love and care for.
The way your life changes is so worth all of those times that you spend on the phone with them, the dinners that you have, the text messages that go back and forth, the way that your life and this other person's life comes together is truly worth it. It's a comfortability that makes you feel, yes, these terms are very cliche, but safe and warm, and like you don't have to go through all the things that you go through alone.
Yeah.
So it's not even just like that you have to sit and preach that like you're happy alone without someone, because we can be alone and get through our days and enjoy our time in life when we're not with someone. But yes, honestly, when you do find that person, it does make life that much greater.
And it's worth settling into.
Yes. And I think a lot of single people are just sore losers. I mean, I'm sorry.
What does that mean?
But they're walking around very bitter. They're like, I'm not gonna go on dates. I'm just gonna focus on me and just do me and do the
Yes.
things that I love.
I got what you're saying.
They're just, their pride is getting in the way of them, and their humility, which their humility and actually like desire to be with somebody could actually be the ticket that helps them find that person that actually works for them. Because when you let those walls down, it makes you vulnerable, and it makes you actually become a real person. And then that is what, if you stay uptight all the time and you're like, I'm just this big shot, and you go into your dating life like that, and then one day down the line with your person that you've chosen, they see a different side when you're like, you realize you got that trophy, you got that golden ticket person that you were looking for. So then you become a different person after that because you've never let those walls down before. There's a lot, I'm sure, that you have seen from people who were one way when they were dating the person. They were one way through the wedding phase and the honeymoon phase. I don't even know if the phases are real, but they seem to be very apparent in the patterns of the dating world. Eventually, all of those walls that they had up while being single and trying to achieve this perfect love life come crashing down eventually in life. And then they end up having the biggest issues in any type of relationship. And then they almost wish they were single again. And then they like wish that they had the time alone again. And it's just like, did you ever actually commit to building a true connection and relationship and bond with this person? Or did you just want to get them?
Yeah. I do think that that is even like probably another episode, because those stages you're referencing are very true. And they're different actually than the ones, though, that again, the ones that are talked about in culture, generally speaking, aren't quite accurate. If we're really being simplistic of the first 3 stages of a relationship, we would say there is the infatuation phase. We're all familiar with the honeymoon phase concept. There's the differentiation phase after that. However long the honeymoon phase lasts, eventually you realize, oh, of all the things we were similar in, there's a lot of differences here. Like, we're not actually the same. We do things very differently. We think this differently. We interact with this differently. We have this different view, whatever it is. And a lot of people stay in the differentiation phase their entire relationship. They either become the naggy, frustrating couple that's like, yeah, they're together, but they've been together a long time and they're kind of frustrated by all the things the other person does, and they nitpick and all the things that we're used to.
But they're aware of that frustration because it's been developing in their relationship for a long time in a healthy way.
Sure. Sometimes it is healthy. Overall, if they stay in that phase, though, it's not healthy.
No, like if you're
obviously
calling your partner names that they're never going to forget until the day they die.
Or you're constantly resenting your partner for something that's just different about them, even if it's actually very simplistic. Right. There are a lot of ways that people stay in that, but most couples, the reason we even have the stereotype of this idea of like marriage getting bad is because people get stuck in that stage and don't know how to solve it. The other thing that happens, by the way, is people just get divorced in that stage. Eventually, they can't handle the differences. The stage after differentiation is acceptance. And it's in the acceptance phase where you truly know and have accepted and love another person. They can be them, you can be you. You get to think and feel and know and want and need, and they can do the same.
That's also a big part of settling in with somebody, accepting that person for who they are. A lot of people
and for who they become
are, they have an F on their chest thinking that they're going to fix all of the people that they're dating. And then you have the people who do actually settle for something that is going to feed their insecurity.
Yeah.
Because they're insecure and they don't think they're going to find better. So they do settle for someone who maybe kind of checks the boxes. Sometimes there are phases through your relationship where the language is different, right? Where you're like, I accept you for who you are, or I'm just going to put up with who you are. Those are 2 very different things. And I think people get in a lot of trouble when they're dating.
Well, it's going to be really hard to get to the acceptance phase of a relationship if there are things that you know going into that relationship you can't accept.
Right.
That will be very difficult. And I see it a lot. And so the part where I'm not going to settle for this, like when we go back to the language of I don't want this, or this is not something I want to commit to, like that's the honest way of interacting with it. Because
but people don't even get to this is not something I want to commit to sentence without their therapist.
Oftentimes that's true.
They're having so much trouble. They're like, do I settle for this person? Do I pick this person? Do I love this person? Is this person right for me? I don't know. They don't even get to the clarity of that phrase. I think a lot of people are struggling to even get to.
There's so much fear of losing yourself. And then there's also so much fear of being alone. And those two fears together create a really weird tension because you have to be with somebody to not be alone.
Those people end up on Love is Blind on Netflix.
They do.
Because they are pure entertainment. I'm sorry.
It's so good. I'm in it. It's so true. Part of what makes some of those reality TV shows amazing is because that tension, you feel it while you're watching it. You feel it while they're navigating relationship. There's high highs and low lows and such intensity.
Yeah.
Because the fear of being alone is finally addressed. Like maybe you won't have to be alone. But then the fear of losing yourself comes up very quickly once you commit.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to do that either.
No.
And so you're in it quickly and out of it quickly. And it makes for great TV.
Yeah. I love how not hypocritical. I love how contradicting that show is because it's supposed to be about the initial love and connection within conversation without seeing a person. But it's actually so vain because once the people do reveal themselves physically to this person, that's the real thing that decides if they're going to say I do or not. And then that's when the whole like relationship storm happens.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, now the show's getting good. Like it's cute and stuff to see the wall and to hear what they talk about, but I'm kind of a skimmer. I'm like, okay, who's on this show? All right, great. Let's skip to this part. And then I want to see how they live together. And then once I'm bored from seeing them live together and just like in 30 seconds of one scene with two people who have already decided to share an apartment together, you know if those people are like good or bad or okay. Sorry, I went off on a tangent about Love is Blind, but
it applies. Making a relationship work without the attraction is a friendship. And a lot of a relationship is a friendship. And so much of a good relationship is built out of how you connect and communicate and converse and all the wonderful things. But yeah, like you were saying, my whole professional life is being strong for other people and seeking to understand them. And the way that I always kind of position that is it's showing people curiosity, which, and from my definition at least, is seeking understanding, suspending judgment. And if you're really actually listening to another person, and you're not coming to your own quick conclusions or judgments because you feel like you have something to defend or something to react to or something really, really big to feel, then more often than not, the things that another person are saying, even if they're initially hard to hear, are actually the things you're going to be able to connect in. And without those things, you're not actually deepening a relationship. And it's those things that a lot of people end up, right? Like even for me, it's hard to open up and to really say what I'm thinking and feeling and wanting and needing. And I think people go throughout all sorts of their relational life avoiding that. But the best relationships are technically found when we're curious and we actually show care. And you can't get to that if at some point you don't settle into something.
So now, people just basically need to tap into their curiosity.
Preferably. I would love that.
How would you tell somebody to do that?
Yeah, we're in our own way a lot, right? Like, what gets in the way of curiosity? If it's seeking, understanding, suspending judgment, we come to quick conclusions because it's safer. Black and white conclusions are easier to interact with than the gray area. And if we sit in it, it can feel uncomfortable. If we don't fully know, like, okay, are we okay? Is this okay? Does this person still like me? Does this person still feel this way? Like, being curious requires you to be very patient. If we're talking about patience and you're looking at it through the lens of you're actually willing to tolerate difficulty, delay, or suffering without becoming angry or annoyed. You know, when you're getting into learning to be patient with somebody, like literally all the best things in life happen when we're patient for them, right? Like, I don't even know how else to describe that, but there's so much waiting in life for something good. But if you're just passively waiting, hoping that somebody just comes along and is obsessed with you, who happens to be this shockingly good looking, well-developed human that you're not going to develop with and be patient with and hold things with, like that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. That's not how it's going to happen. Unless you were very clear on slowly working on yourself and consistently pursuing other people in the meantime,
Yeah.
so that you develop the relational ability to be with somebody like that, then by all means, maybe that can happen. But then you were patient.
Yeah.
You handled the delay and the difficulty and the suffering without getting angry or annoyed. And even if you were annoyed and angry at some times, hopefully you handled it with some class.
Right.
But in the meantime, right, like when we're looking at this idea, like what if people were willing to be a little bit more patient while they date? Stop being so angry at the apps. Stop pretending that there's an old school way of dating that we can somehow get back to, because the world has actually changed and we don't have dance halls anymore where we meet in person. It'd be really cool if we could bring them back, though.
Oh, you would probably
I
enjoy
would
that.
thrive.
Nope.
Oh, I would dominate old school dance halls.
I mean, we met through a dating app, so we can't.
Yeah, we did.
We can't really hate the apps, but
Props to Hinge.
we can. Yeah, there are people who just like, ugh, I have to get on the apps. I have to go meet the person that I matched with on the app. But do you
And
know
you have
how
to go
much
on a
time?
lot of weird dates.
Do you know how much time we're still saving today with our modern technology and the ways that we are dating?
Well,
fact
I mean,
that
we're
people
not
are
saving
like-
any time if we're talking about arranged marriage. We're creating a lot of extra time.
Yes.
But yes.
But people are just like, why can't I find my person? But it's just, then they're like, I don't want to spend time going on these dates with all these people. But it's like, you can quickly just access them and then just not see that person again.
And you can be patient and
agree.
realize that's the world you live in. And maybe instead of feeling like you're the victim of the current cultural narrative around dating, you can live in the one we live in, and you can keep looking for somebody because they're looking for people too.
There's a lot of people who have not spent more than a year with somebody in a partnership, and they're the ones complaining the most.
Yes.
And I'm like, listen, I've been in several long-term relationships that have been well over a year, over 2 years, over 3 years, and every time there is a different version of defeat in my mind. Breakups are not easy, and I think there's a fear of that too, where people are like, what if I do actually let these walls down and I love this person to the end of the world, and then they just like leave?
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
But it's so worth it every single time.
Yeah.
I
There's a phrase that I use sometimes that you haven't loved.
okay.
But my humble opinion is that the way dating works is that it is going to end in heartbreak until it ends in something meaningful. The way I have said it before that you didn't like was it is always going to end in failure until it is successful. Like your relationship will not work
I
until
said
it does.
I didn't love that?
You didn't like the word failure. You didn't like
Oh, yeah,
when
I
I was
don't-
saying like it all just fails. I don't literally mean you're all failures. Like I've been no stranger to
failure is
doing
just so,
that.
like,
you just don't love that word.
Negative.
But technically, right, that's
But it's
literally
true.
the dating game.
It's so true.
You're not going to find your fit
I just wouldn't say
until
that.
you do.
The reason why I don't like failure is I wouldn't keep saying that every dinner I went on, every,
No, you grow
2-month
through
fling
it.
that I had was a failure, because
Nope.
it didn't lead to marriage. No, it didn't lead to me finding my person. So I think that the failure word was just harsh in that aspect, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of great experiences and friends that you make along the way. Like you realize it's not going to work out with someone, and you still probably had a great time with them. You probably went on great dates, but
But it didn't end in you being committed forever.
no, it didn't.
And that's what people are looking for. And they go into dating and they are so overwhelmed when it doesn't work out. It's the most likely scenario of dating is that it's not going to work out.
But saying that they failed.
It's a terrible phrase. That's why I fixed it. I just wanted to still say it so people knew why I had to fix it.
I just don't want them to also believe that they're a failure, because that feeds also the insecurities that they had before going into that relationship of like, what if it doesn't work out?
Yeah. If
And
they're
then
dating
they-
to find their person,
And then they decide that at the end they failed. Oh, well, I'm just not going to date at all. Like that's why they throw in the towel.
but they already think that. Like that's why people keep getting off the apps. That's why people are
Don't
impatient.
say that phrase.
No, this is why I actually want people to be honest with
I
themselves
agree.
for a little bit.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Because if you're not honest with the fact that like if you're going into this thinking it's going to work out with the first person you date or the second person you date, like you're kidding yourself. That might happen, but that's not how it's going to work. You're
That was
going to
me.
learn very quickly that is not how it works.
Yeah, that was me in my 20s. I thought I was just going to be with one person, and then that be it. That's all I ever wanted, was just the one person that was going to commit just as much as me, and we'd have so much fun, and then grow old together, and then that'd be that.
Yeah, because that's epic.
Little did I know I'd be in several relationships where you try,
Yeah.
you do commit, but you lean into it, and then sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yep. And it not working, let's just be super clear on this, does not mean that you failed. No one is a failure in that regard.
But I think that's why I kept persevering in the dating world, and it never struck me down so much that I was so defeated that I didn't even want to date. I've never been in a space in my life where I was like, I'm just done dating. Last year, I actually did say, I'm going to stop pursuing and looking and actively dating. Jinx. Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
When you form walls and close people and connections off altogether, then you're probably screwed. Use the word failure all you want.
Yeah.
Because, yes.
That one's screwed.
You are the failure's advocate. But no, there were
No, you're right.
I never stopped loving. I think even when I went on first dates that felt really great, I was really grateful for like the other person wanting to actually sit with me, and like they chose me on their end to also like go sit down and have this awkward first interaction. So you have to remove your pride and remove all these selfish desires from dating and allow yourself to be surprised by other people.
Yeah. I wish I could just change people's minds and like force the thought in there of, instead of thinking
Just change
through
the
the
channel.
lens of like what they're settling for, can't we just talk about like, what are you willing to commit to?
If you're under the age of 25, you probably don't even know what change the channel means. So,
Yeah.
but just change the channel.
Change the channel and figure out what you really want to commit to.
I do think the world
Figure
needs
it out.
more tough love. Like
Yes.
they need friends just saying like, listen, deal with it. You chose to go on the date with that person who now you find awful. Have the conversation with them. Figure it out.
Yes.
Let-
Make a choice.
Let
Be
that person know
responsible.
what's actually happening too. Like when you're in the beginning stages of a relationship and you're feeling some type of way about them, have conversations with them very early. Tell them what's on your mind, even if it is about them, because they might go like, oh, I'm really glad you brought that up because I've been wanting to mention this. And so since you mentioned this, I feel comfortable opening up to you to talk about this thing. And then a really beautiful conversation comes out of that. And that's called settling in. So settling down, settling in, settling for.
It's amazing to be able to settle down with somebody. Getting to settle into a relationship is where all the acceptance and joy comes from. Settling for things, if you know that it's not something you want to commit to, then be honest.
Just be honest.
Don't just say, don't go with the like intense vibe of I don't deserve this or I'm not going to settle for this. Just be honest if you don't want it. That's, I think, the way that it can be handled. That's so much more meaningful.
I agree. Don't walk around like you don't care because you're spiraling because you do.
Yep. Be
So,
honest.
Great second episode. I think this will require a lot of editing, but
Yeah, it's a long one.
all right. You can find us on Instagram at call.yourtherapist. You can find Max on Instagram at,
Real with Maxwell.
and you can find me on Instagram at Justin_Tucker. DM us or email us hello@callyourtherapistpodcast.com, and we will see you on the next one.
Can't wait.
Let's go.
Brain doing that sideways swing.
We did it.
Heart saying time's up. You're not broken, just a little overwhelmed. Take a breath, hit the number, let somebody help. Call your therapist, it's alright, it's alright. Call your therapist, take your time, take your time. Little talk, little truth, little kindness, yeah, call your therapist.